Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we are on a quest for Dynasty Domination. How's it going over there, Daniel?
Pretty good, man. People are getting pumped. I know we got a couple of drafts coming up this weekend, and
Hmm.
and it's in the water, man. Everybody is aware.
Yeah,
Sharks are out, the blood is out, the taste, the fear, the desire, everything is percolating in these waters these days. But I'm doing great. I'm loving it. I'm here for it. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing, man. Same though. I've already seen so many trades get kicked around, and like people are really getting hyped. No matter how weak the draft class is in theory, everybody still come draft time wants all the picks in the
Put it
world.
in.
It's that rookie fever, man, and I'm honestly here for it. I don't have too many first rounders. I guess I got two
Yeah,
out
you just got a
of I
big
did.
bite, dude. Big
I
nibble.
I did get a nibble. I'm gonna get a share of Mr. Love, so that's gonna be fun. But yeah, I'm excited. Unfortunately, for anybody listening and trying to get a little bit of feelers on how we feel on the drafts, we're not doing that this year.
Yeah,
We
Ian.
we learned from our past mistakes that the only people that listen to this podcast are our co-league mates who want to know what we're thinking. So we are going
Snipers.
to cover a review of the draft. Obviously, that just happened, and we want to talk about it. But we're going to do it in a bit of a different way that doesn't give away everything that we're thinking for our next two rookie drafts. So we are going to talk about some teams that have the most obviously improved skill position groups, and then a couple teams who passed on obvious skill position needs and how that's going to affect their veterans going forward. So I think this is going to be a pretty fun conversation. So honestly, you want to take it away? You want to start either one you want to start with. If you want to start the obvious needs or hit the most improved, just let me hear it.
Okay, I this one to me just sticks way out as a miss on the draft as far as the skill positions go. I thought that after trading away Michael Pittman,
Okay.
that the Indianapolis Colts had a very obvious need at the wide receiver position.
Mm-hmm.
But they did not agree with me. I was a little baffled. They got Nick Westbrook Akina, so I know
That's
that's
solved.
huge
Solved it.
for them. But
He's basically
uh,
Michael Pittman, right?
true that. And they got Josh Downs out there, so
Mm.
that's pretty good too. And we got Alec Pierce, obvious wide receiver
RDR
one.
legend.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely was a guy that we were excited to see
Hmm.
with potential to be a strong number two on an offense. But yeah, and then you got Josh Downs, which I think we were all a little iffy on. Um, had some hopes for him coming out of North Carolina, but no, they went ahead and did what we didn't expect them to do. And they went in the seventh round and drafted Dion Burks, who is a very similar player, a lot faster, but similar size player to Josh Downs,
Uh-huh.
and nothing like Michael Pittman. And so I'm looking at the depth chart, and it's just, I don't see what they're trying to do here.
Hmm.
Their other skill position player was Seth McGowan, which I thought was a great value for them in the seventh round. But behind Jonathan Taylor, I think they already had enough support. But for them to just be like, no, we're totally fine with the wide receiver room we have, I thought that was very surprising for them to pass on this what is a deeper, if not a potent, but definitely a deeper class of wide receivers.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I made sure I had multiple teams so that we didn't eat each other, and I'm very glad that I did that because I also had the Colts as one of my teams. They were one of the higher teams for me. I mean, you look, I don't. It's not that even that I hate their draft. Like C.J. Allen in the second round. Obviously, they didn't have a first round pick because of the Sauce Gardner trade. CJ Allen should be a great linebacker for him. That was a need. They go out and get a guard in the fourth round, another linebacker. They just went all defense until
Yeah.
Seth McCollum and Deion Burks in the seventh, who are players that I like, or liked. But I'm 100% with you. You lose like Michael Pittman. Alec Pierce obviously gets a massive contract. Josh Downs is there. But then the rest of your wide receivers, not including Deion Burks, are Nick Westbrook-Akina, like you said, Anthony Gold, Ashton Dulin. Like
Yeah.
that's who you're relying on. And you're
Killing
also
me.
relying on a broken Daniel Jones to come
Right.
back and make that offense work the way it was working. Last year when they were beating up on, let's be real, fairly bad teams. They were 8-1 or 8-2 or whatever. And I heard a thing from Connor Orr today, the reporter for Sports Illustrated, that six of the eight teams that they beat all had their coaches fired during that stretch. So it's not like they
Ouch.
were beating bad team or good teams. So you're relying on this, you're relying on a healthy Daniel Jones. We don't know if he's going to be healthy, or Richardson getting a shot early on. I'd love that, but I don't know how it would work. Or Riley Leonard to make this offense work. And then you're looking at Alec Pierce. Okay, he had a really good year last year, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, but he's still not like, I don't know. Now you need him to be your true one, which I know on this podcast, I don't think we ever really thought that that was his bag.
No.
So now he has to be that guy because you got rid of Pittman. Not that Pittman was like a high end one, but you know what we mean. And then Downs, he was so disappointing last year that I was convinced that he didn't play a full season, and he played 16 games. Um,
Yikes.
and just was 88 targets, 58 receptions, 566 yards, and four scores. That's just not going to get it done. Like that's fine. You want the reception percentage to go up, not catching 30 of your targets, whether that be the quarterback or his fault, I'm not sure. But 566 yards is fairly pitiful off that. And then only four scores. Like, I guess my question is like, who's going to score touchdowns for this team? If between Pierce and Downs, you got 10. Now, you think, I guess that means Tyler Warren's going to get a bump.
For
Um,
sure.
but that's all again reliant on the quarterback being functional. And we've seen Daniel Jones be good to okay for the Giants. And then the next year he sucked really bad. So like now we're expecting him to come off an Achilles and just make this offense work the way it was. Like I'm kind of like scared on the Colts as a whole. Like even Jonathan Taylor um started to kind of slow down towards the end of the year last year, and it's one of those things. I'm just not convinced that this is going to work. And the Colts, specifically the GM and the coach, really need it to, or their job's going to be on the line, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd say consider them gone. This feels like denial, you know?
Fair enough. I
Like,
couldn't agree more. Um, so yeah, I'll get into two teams that passed on a team that passed on some obvious skill position needs, but I'm actually gonna flip it and go positive with it.
okay, good. Okay,
Um,
do it.
at least for fantasy player wise.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at the Los Angeles Chargers here. They take Brennan Thompson in the fourth round. That was their only skill position guy that they took, unless I'm forgetting somebody. But that was their only skill position guy that's really worth mentioning that
That's
they
the only
took.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So that's the only one they took. There's a pretty funny bit where Mike McDaniel um, said he would take his shirt off if they took Brennan Thompson in the fourth in the draft room. They caught that on camera. That was pretty funny. But in terms of like, oh, this is actually going to move the needle, maybe. Mike McDaniel does love his fast guys. Brandon Thompson has the fastest 40 out of any wide receiver, so that's cool. But what I saw from this was arrow up on Lad McConkey and arrow up on Trey Harris because Keenan Allen leaves, right? He's gone unless I don't think he's signed with anybody, and I don't think he's announced he's retired either. So unless they bring him back as like a second round free agent guy, he's leaving 122 targets up for grabs. Last year, Lad McConkey had 107. You presumably think it's time for Lad McConkey to take that role back over. In my opinion, it was kind of weird they went for Keenan Allen. I feel like it was a hat on a hat with Lad McConkey, and that showed last year. Lad McConkey did not have as good of a sophomore season as he did a rookie year, and I think it's because a lot of the technicality and the route running stuff that he were to do went to Keenan Allen, which makes sense. Keenan Allen's a vet in the league, whatever. But to me, this opens the door up for McConkey to be the lead guy. So anybody that hung on to Lad McConkey last year should be excited, in my opinion. And we talk about Mike McDaniel wanting speed, and we talk about the Brennan Thompson pick. But don't forget, Lad McConkey ran a 4.39. It's not like the dude's slow. Like he can get up and go. So I think the offense is going to run through Lad McConkey. And I think the departure of Keenan Allen and the Los Angeles Chargers not drafting a top end wide receiver means that McConkey ends up being the lead dog. And then Trey Harris and Quentin Johnston are going to battle it out for that second spot. And to me, I mean, they're a similar type player, like bigger body, kind of possession guys, which they need in that offense. But my bet would go to Trey Harris over QJ for that. I know QJ had a pretty good season last year, so it could go either way. And then Brennan Thompson is like the puzzle piece that may get the traction further along the road. Like I could definitely see them using him as like a play action, like Justin Herbert with that giant arm is going to bomb it down the field and score with him, but that's not going to be consistent. So I love the fact that they didn't draft anybody highly for McConkey. I feel like it de-muddies the room for him. And then you just got, if you're a Trey Harris guy, you got to hope that Trey Harris ends up beating QJ. If you're a QJ guy, you just got to hope that he continues what he did last year. But also, don't forget that Mike McDaniel was the guy that got Jonnu Smith in the later stages of his career to the tight end four in a year.
Wow.
So now you
Hmm.
got Aronde Gadsden, who flashed super hard in the middle of the year and then kind of vanished towards the end of the year. I feel like he's going to have a much more consistent 2026
Oh.
than he did in 2025. Like, I don't see why Mike McDaniel wouldn't want to use him. So now to me, it's like you've got your running game with Amari and Hampton. You've got Justin Herbert, who is an excellent quarterback, and then you've got Lad McConkey and Gadsden as your two major weapons, and these other puzzle piece guys. I feel like Mike McDaniel's got to be licking his chops looking at all this athletic talent that he has. And to me, I'm very excited that they didn't go and take a guy in the second round or they didn't have a third round pick, but especially not the first round. Like they really, really steered it to where these are their guys, at least for this year. And I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it on that one. I didn't put the McDaniel's Gadsden thing together, but also the Darren Waller like top three tight end for 2 games before turning back into dust or whatever. So you're right. I mean, you get a dynamic tight end on an offense like that, and I think you're going to end up with something awesome. It's good for Hamden too. Even your Kiami Vidal
Mm,
handcuff stashes. That's good to not get any competition in the. Okay, well, okay. So I guess my next they passed on it. I'm gonna do the Giants.
okay.
And this is not like the Colts where they had a glaring need. This is more um surprised they didn't take a running back
Mm,
and more wide receiver help. Um so I think it's a vote of confidence for some of our injured players from last year. You had neighbors
yeah.
who missed the second half of the season, and then Scatterboo, same kind of deal. So for them to really just go after the defense, and we've got the Harbaugh thing going on, and there's like the Dexter Lawrence trade and everything. So they're getting excited and they're realigning, but they're kind of doubling down on Scadaboo, which I think is amazing. I think like we all kind of felt like it could have been a 1 year type situation for him to get replaced immediately, especially with the injury on top of it. So that makes me pretty happy. And then that Wandell's out of there, and they brought in Darnell Mooney and Calvin Austin. Those guys aren't really moving the needle. So to get Malachi Fields, I think that's a great pickup and a great add in the skill position realm. But it doesn't really threaten the neighbors as like the number one alpha kind of volume hog. I really was worried that Cornell Tate was going to end up here as
Hmm.
far as like what that was going to do to the balance of this, of the targets here. So I like that. I was surprised. Like I thought they were really going to hit skill position and try to get a little flashy, splashy and support Jackson Dart, but I feel like they just put trust in what they had going last year and a little bit of patience. Obviously, this is a long-term retooling of the Giants, but I really was surprised to see them kind of skip the skill position group, except for that third round pick on Fields. I think they are really going to focus on tightening up their defense and going forward that direction. Obviously, Arvell Reese is going to make that easy for them. But I'm looking for my Abdul Carter breakout season coming to an IDP league near you. So keep your eyes out for that. Were you surprised at all by what the Giants did here?
You know, not really surprised just because in the sense if you look at the board, I feel like everything they wanted to do kind of got taken away from them. Like
Okay.
I feel like had Jeremiah Love fallen to five, they would have taken him.
Oh, for sure.
Had Carnell Tate fallen to five, they would have taken him. But they kind of got those two guys taken away, and then it was like, okay, well, we need to pivot. They obviously didn't like Jordan Tyson that much, or maybe not just enough more than Arvell Reese or whatever. And then they did need to improve the offensive line. So I feel like it was more of a case of, damn, the guys we really wanted to fix the skill positions are gone. And then if you look at their free agency, they did bring in Darnell Mooney, who is a guy that you like, and I do think is like a great number three and a decent number two. And then honestly, I really like the Malachi Fields in the third round. I think he kind of complements what they want to do uh with like neighbors pretty well, like a bigger, more possession guy to go with the superstar neighbors. And then they did bring in Isaiah Likely.
For sure.
And so like I think they felt comfortable enough that once those top end guys were gone, they pivoted to fix other holes. So surprised I think would be strong just because of the way
Yeah,
the board went, but I definitely like going into the draft, I thought, oh, this is definitely going to be a spot where either Tate or Love go. I also didn't think that Love was actually going to go to the Cardinals and then Tate to the Titans. As much as I like that, actually, that was not something I had on my radar. So I thought for sure they were going to get one of those two guys. And when they didn't, it did make sense to me for them to pivot out of that. But I agree with you in the sense that it is a good sign for Neighbors and Scattaboo. Like they must be at least John Harbaugh's confident enough in them in their recovery from the injuries to rely on them this year, which is going to be great. I mean, Scattaboo was awesome last year. I only had one share of him, and I ended up trading him, and that's going to be a lot more disappointing now. I was kind of you never root for these guys to do bad, but when you trade one away, you kind of want to be validated by like, oh, Jeremiah Love went to the Giants. It was cool that I got Chris Olave for Cam Scatterboo. Like
yes,
it would have felt a lot better because Scatterboo was awesome before he got hurt. And then Neighbors, I mean Neighbors is just a stud.
for sure.
Regardless, it was very sad that he got hurt. So it is
I
a it.
just
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say like the surprise is like the multi-level, right? The way the board fell, the way they didn't get
Yeah.
desperate when it did go that way.
Mm.
Like they passed on a guy like Singleton or Emmett Johnson or whatever multiple times,
Yeah,
and that's just kind of the glowing endorsement in the
for
running
sure.
back room yeah, I don't know. I didn't see it coming.
No, I'm with you. That does make a lot of sense. The passing on the running backs later in the round was fairly surprising, but I know a lot of teams just were not in on the running back class in this draft. So, all right, I will get into my last team that passed on obvious needs. I'll throw out the Raiders just because you didn't pair a top end receiver with Fernando Mendoza. That was surprising to me. Could help out like a Jack Bash, but it's gonna hurt. I just think Bowers and Genty are gonna have like a bulk amount of the targets this season, uh, while they try to improve that team. But I'm actually gonna talk about their division rival, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes.
I'm pretty surprised the Chiefs did not take a wide receiver earlier in the draft. I understand that they have some guys that they like, but it just felt like to me a position of need. And they didn't take one until the fifth round in Cyrus Allen. I know first of all, Mahomes gets hurt at the end of the year. We're just expecting him to be back at some point, but we don't know how he's going to do. We've seen it was an Achilles for him, right? Or was it an ACL? I think it was an ACL, actually. We've seen that some of these quarterbacks take a year with these lower leg injuries to really get back to true form. So you're going to be relying early on Justin Fields. And I'm sorry, as much as we liked him, Jalen Royals was basically a non-factor last season. So you're expecting or hoping for a big jump from him. Uh, and then Xavier Worthy has been broadly fine, like not what people wanted out of a first round wide receiver for the Chiefs. I assure you, but he's been okay. Rashee Rice obviously has been great. Let's just like lock him in a room so that he can't do anything crazy and get arrested again, and then you'll be fine there. But then like Thornton, meh, like at best. And then you look at
Well,
Travis Kelce, like he's aging out. Would have been a great time to find his future replacement and let him sit for a year and learn from Travis Kelce. They don't take a single tight end. Did you really need Garrett Nussmeier, Kansas City? That felt
no,
weird. I
no,
mean, I
dude,
know you
that's a weird move.
I mean, you took him the seventh, so I guess it is what it is, but like just felt odd. And so to me, it just feels like their skills position group didn't really get better. I mean, obviously they bring in Kenneth Walker, that's huge. And I actually really love the pairing of Emmett Johnson with Kenneth Walker. I think they complement each other very well. Like Walker's the all around but fairly bruiser type runner, and then Emmett Johnson could be your change of pace, like elusive type back. I think that's actually pretty good and will help early on in the year when they need to lean into the running game because they have Justin Fields out there. And but if these pass catchers weren't really working that well with Mahomes before he got hurt, it felt like a little bit of new blood could have helped. And now you want him to work with Justin Fields early on, at least in fantasy. I don't buy it. I don't really think it's going to work. I think it's going to hurt a lot of these pass catchers in KC in terms of their fantasy value. I think Rice is obviously going to see the dominant amount of the targets, just like he did last year. He missed 8 games and still had 78 targets. So I feel like he's pretty set. But all these other guys, I mean, like I said, they were inconsistent at best with the best quarterback on earth playing with
Oh,
them. And now you have Justin Fields for who knows how long. Because Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL towards the end of last year. So at best, he comes back in October, maybe late September if he really hits the training regimen hard and has the best doctors, which he is Patrick Mahomes. He's an alien. Like maybe
he
he can do
probably
that.
has the best doctors.
Yeah,
I would, I
like
would, I would say he probably has the best doctors,
for
but
sure. But like still base case scenario, he's back late September, more likely early October, and then like where is he at when he's actually back, you know? So that's what I'm worried about. And I just felt like I mean, I get the Peter Woods draft pick at the end of the first round, and I mean, our Mason Thomas also like a good choice. It's not that I hate their choices. It just felt like wide receiver could have used some juice, and they didn't really get it. And I'm a bit skeptical that their offense is just going to be better this year, just basically shoot through sheer force of will. You know, like there's nothing saying that like, oh, this team's gonna be better offensively than they were last year. And let's not forget, like again, Mahomes got hurt late, and their offense
Yeah,
was
week 15.
fine before that. You know, and so I just don't see it. I'm just skeptical, is all.
Well, yeah, and I think that I'm just gonna let them do what they're gonna do, right? Obviously, they don't return my phone calls,
Yeah.
but to take Peter Woods when, Omar Cooper Jr. is still on the board,
Yeah.
that's kind of ridiculous. And then in the fifth round, when they finally took, Cyrus Allen,
Hmm.
uh, that was right one pick before Kevin Coleman Jr.,
Uh-huh.
who I think is probably, obviously, unanimously a much better football player and, a Mizzou guy. So, like, your own backyard.
Yeah.
So, like, the decisions and the timing of it was, yeah, it really got to me in this sad face situation. And like a guy like CJ Daniels or something like that, I could see them going for a dude like that later, and they
Hmm.
didn't do it. They usually do something like that, and it was a bummer. But I let this one go because we did not take Jordan Tyson, and I was happy that we did
Yeah.
not take Jordan Tyson. And so I was like, okay, I guess no receiver is better than having taken Tyson over Delane. I was just really happy that we went with
Yeah.
Delane.
Oh, great pick. Yeah, great for that was a great trade up. I have no issues with the Mansour Delane pick, but exactly what you're saying though. The Peter Woods area, obviously Peter Woods may be a stud, who knows? But taking him over Omar Cooper seemed uh like a
Hairless.
stretch to me. Yeah.
Hairless.
Well, how about some actually improved teams? Who is one of your most improved skill position teams after the draft?
I don't think honestly, none of the teams improved in the skill position. So this is kind of a weird topic
Okay.
because I looked at all of them and none of them seem to be any better. So
Oh, okay.
it's rough. No, I liked what Miami did.
Okay.
Because they were a team with obvious needs. It was almost like the Raiders who did nothing, except, as far as like their existing wide receiver room, it was nobody and nothing in their existing tight end room, nobody and nothing. So they spent, five picks in the wide receiver and tight end room. And I don't want to call them pass catchers because I think some of these tight ends are probably more
Hmm.
of a blocking variety. But yeah,
Will Kakmarak.
yeah, Will Kakmarak, that Ohio State super tackle that ran routes. I don't know what's going to happen in the tight end room here, but I do know, and I just mentioned that Kevin Coleman Jr. In the
Hmm.
fifth, that was a steal. I think he's probably going to be out there in three wide receiver sets. Obviously, Malik Washington is kind of a lucky draw for how things have gone for him. But Chris Bell of it all, man, like we know he's coming off an injury. But like this is just, I thought it was the widest open landing spot, and for a guy like Chris Bell who has the potential to be, a real superstar if he gets healthy and can, kind of continue the trajectory he was on. Um, I think that, yeah, that did not surprise me. I think that their skill position group got exactly what it needed, which
Hmm.
was five big old darts and three decent. wide receivers plugged in. So I'm excited to see how it all shakes out. I trust this offense more than I have in years, even though, McDaniels was great and everything, but it just feels like the quarterback room is stable. I don't know what we're expecting out of Malik Willis, but I think that he offers something stable and that they can build with what they have here. It reminds me a lot of like what Tennessee did last year
Mm.
um, with Iron Manor and DK, but with a little more juice than that. So I'm looking to see if any of it sticks, and so I feel like they did address a need and make an improvement.
Yeah, I agree with you. Green Bay South really took some
Yeah,
players that I liked. I would have loved Ted Hurst there. I said that before the
yeah,
draft, but didn't happen. But they take Caleb Douglas in the third round,
sure.
a guy who didn't make our tournament, but who knows? I did watch a little bit of him, and I did like what I saw. Just per the rankings, didn't really qualify for the tournament. But then, yeah, getting Chris Bell, especially late in the third, like that's a guy that had second round mocks all over him. So you're getting him late in the third, as long as he's healthy. He is a guy that needs a little bit of time in the oven. So there might be some frustrations, but I think Miami knew that in general, kind of like what you said with the Titans. Like they took a bunch of guys. I mean, they took 13 guys in the draft to try and repair their roster. And I think everyone knows that this year is a building year. Well, they want to see what Malik Willis has. Um, and see if they need a quarterback next year. And then these guys are immediately going to run onto the field. Like as much as we loved Malik Washington, and I still like him, I'm excited to see if he can do anything. When you look at the depth chart for the Miami Dolphins, it's not hard to see how these rookies are just going to immediately make an impact. I mean, literally, if you look at our lads, their starting slot is Malik Washington. Their right and left wide receivers are already Caleb Douglas and Chris Bell.
Yeah.
Like you're looking at Jalen Turlbert, Tutu Atwell, Taras Marshall, Theo Weiss
Oh, Terrace
Jr.,
Marshall have to get on that.
Kevin Coleman. They took all the Missouri boys, I guess. But yeah, it's like we're gonna see all of these guys immediately. Even not this isn't has anything to do with skill positions, but even Caden Proctor and Chris Johnson, their two first round picks, they're gonna start day
Oh
one.
yeah,
And so at the very least with this draft class for Miami, you're gonna see all these guys and kind of be able to see if they can at least play at the NFL level and if they're people you want to build around. And yeah, I think they do. It's hard to say they're not one of the most improved skill positions in the league when if they didn't
yeah.
get these guys, they would be the most dog shit skill position room maybe of all time. But
It's
it's
nice to see him do it though.
yeah, yeah, they went for it. And I respect and appreciate that for them.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna get into somewhat similar of a topic, but not exactly. I'm actually gonna talk about the New Orleans Saints.
Okay. Yeah.
I know Tyson is not your favorite of anyone, but
I
they
think it's
take
great. I just really, really didn't want the Chiefs to take him.
that's fair. That's fair. But they take Jordan Tyson at the 1-8 spot. They take Oscar Delp at the 3-9 spot. They take Bryce Lance at the the 436 spot, and Baron Brown at the 6-9. So they really went hard on that skill position room. And as much as I like these picks, like obviously I was a Bryce Lance guy. Jordan Tyson, I think, has one of the highest upsides, maybe also one of the lowest floors, but I do think he has an incredibly high upside. And then Oscar Delp is a receiving tight end that you liked that just
Hmm.
didn't get enough opportunities. But to be honest with you, when we're talking most improved, you got to look at who the hell else was on that roster because Rashid Shaheed was still second on the team in wide receiver targets by the end of the year with 66. Devon Villay had 46, I believe. I actually mistyped it here, so I'm gonna double check what it
39.
was. 39. He had 39 targets, and that was gonna be your number two wide receiver. So to me, Jordan Tyson is immediately the number two wide receiver. You got Chris Olave coming off his best season as a pro. Then Bryce Lance is immediately the wide receiver three there. Oscar Delp is your tight end two next to Juwan Johnson, who's aging out, but Juwan Johnson had 102 targets. So all of a sudden, Tyler Shuck's looking around and being like, holy shit, I actually have people to throw the ball to. Like, we have to see if any of these guys are going to work out and be special. But when you add that to a running back room that now has Travis Etienne or sorry, Travis Achan and Alvin
No, dude.
Kamara.
Don't be that guy.
Hey man, that's what he said.
I
That's what
heard
he
it.
said.
I can't unhear it.
And Alvin Kamara and hopefully Kendre Miller still kicking around somehow. Probably not. But even Devin Neal, a decent running
Yeah.
back room, and then like some actually like say what you want about Jordan Tyson, Bryce Lance, and Oscar Delp, honestly, but they have NFL level athleticism, which I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Devon Villay, who's about to be a grandparent,
Mhm.
um, just didn't, So now you've got some actual juice out there. Let's see if Tyler Shuck is really the guy. And again, let's see for if 2027 we need to draft a quarterback, but at least surround Tyler Shuck with some talent that you can actually evaluate him. So I think they go from one of the worst skill position rooms like Miami in the league to one of the better, not one of the better ones, but one of the more exciting ones to watch in 2026.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, we're talking about some excitement. I think that it's going to happen. I do think that Tyson has a ton of potential and probably pass Olave. Um, Maybe not this year, but coming up. So that's a good move, and Lance is pretty solid. I'm pumped about Delp. So I thought, yeah, everything they did, I had them circled as a team to discuss, but they just fucking fortified some weaknesses and they didn't spare the expense of it all. So I'm kind of pumped about Tyler Shuck, dude. I think I mean, it's kind of an interesting situation
Yeah.
that we're seeing there. It's kind of like finding a gold nugget in the creek, like you got to take that thing and ride it. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I thought they did a really good job and they got some pretty decent, value there, with Lance for sure. And Baron Brown, it's a local, it's got the LSU on him.
Yeah.
We have to keep an eye on that, but we'll see how much Juwan Taylor gets, how that transition goes with Delp. But definitely a player that I was excited about, and I think this is a pretty decent landing spot for him. So
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's kind of a similar situation. I got to pick the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
So if you look at the R lads, it's definitely got some purple in the left-hand column. Kind of like everything is new there on the offense. Like, they got three new linemen in free agency, and then with Casey Concepcion in the first round, beautiful pick there, and then Denzel Boston in the second, great little value there. And then they got the Spencer Fano going on too. So it's like a new O line and a brand new receiving core, and they needed it big time. Jerry Judy gets a lot of hate, a lot of shade thrown his way. People are saying he couldn't even outperform, a rookie tight end, last year with Harold Fannin. And that's true. He only had 600 yards on 106 targets. It was disgusting. And then he was backed up by Isaiah Bond,
Mm.
and then Cedric Tillman had 39 targets, as the number three wideout on this team. So it's bad news, for what they were rolling out last year, and they take a huge step. And I couldn't be more impressed with the contrasting skill sets that they added. Casey Concepcion is like a do-it-all gritty guy that I'm extremely high on. And so he's not going to let anybody down. And then Boston adds a really nice, deep contested catch. Definitely a Cedric Tillman plus situation to this team. So it rounds out the skill position group, with Judkins in the second year, Fannin in the second year, and then like who knows on the quarterback room, but whoever that quarterback is, they're not going to be able to complain too much. Now they've got a revitalized O line
Yeah.
and some very potent pass catchers. So it was nice to see Cleveland say, "Hey, this is what we're going to do." I guess the defense has always been pretty solid, so we're not going to
Yeah.
spend too much energy there. We're just going to make the worst offense in football maybe better than the Jets now or
Yeah.
something.
No, I'm 100% with you. I had the Browns on my list as well. Obviously, if you saw our tournament, you know how we feel about Concepcion. And then, yeah, Denzel Boston in the second is great value and also pairs really well with their two polar opposite
Yeah,
types
completely
of
different.
receivers.
Perfect.
And then honestly, Joe Royer, sneaky little tight end
Yes,
two potential behind Harold Fannin. Still kicking myself that I let the Browns scare me away from Harold Fannin after how good he was in college. But yeah, like you said, Jerry Jeudy had 106 targets last season. Isaiah Bond has 44, and he's the number two wide receiver. You instantly get an upgrade at wide receiver two and three, and potentially you're sending Jerry Jeudy in year one down to three. Like he could be anywhere from wide receiver one to wide receiver three. My gut says he at least gets beat by Concepcion, if not
for
Boston, by the
sure.
end of this year. And so that, yeah, like you said, and once Judkins is back, you got Dylan Sampson, Quinshon Judkins. That's a great one-two punch at running back. Wide receiver, you've got Concepcion, Boston, Judy, and Fannin at tight end. Like that is mouthwatery for any kind of quarterback. And then, yeah, the potentially repaired offensive line. I'm always skeptical of
Potentially.
teams
It's a
that
lot of movement.
a lot of movement and a lot of free agent movement. And like Elton Jenkins, as a
Hmm.
Green Bay fan, was amazing when he was healthy, but for the last 2 years, he hasn't been healthy. And he's been moving from center to guard and like diminishing returns there. So I hope he gets back to where he was because he was a great, great player before the last few years. But it's one of those things like you're just hoping that that works, and you never know. But it's still, I would rather you do that and try that than not, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so regardless of who the quarterback is this year, even if it ends up being Taylor Green, you know,
Hey, baby, bring it on, man.
that would be spicy and fun. May not work, but it would be more fun than
It would-
watching dumbass Deshaun Watson and Shooter Sanders go head to head. Hopefully it's just Sanders. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But I'm with
Dude,
you.
hopefully it's Taylor Green. Like, can you imagine that?
Yeah, that would be
Like
fun.
what are you gonna do against this offense with Taylor Green under center? He only has to complete 40% of his passes for them to, have a 50% increase in production over last year.
Yeah, for sure. But no, I like where your head's at. I do like what the Browns did. I had them on my list, like you said.
Right on.
You mentioned the other team I'm going to talk about, and it might be the two teams competing for from the worst offense to be one of the better ones.
Oh, sure.
And it's the New York Jets. Like I can't, I always have like some secret Jet love, and I can't shake it for some reason. Garrett Wilson's one of my favorite players in the league. Anybody that's listened to our podcast knows that. But so they go out and they have an offensive line that on paper looks pretty spicy. They had Armand Mimbu last year at left tackle and Olu Fashanu the year before that. Those are two great offensive linemen that I think anchor that line really well. In theory, the middle of the line is improved, bringing in Dylan Parham. Um, so that should be nice. They have Brees Hall at the running back position. Their really issue, their biggest issue was pass catchers. They had Garrett Wilson. He was obviously hurt all of last season. So that, excuse me, hurt them a lot. But you get Kenyon Sadiq, by far the best tight end in the draft, at the 116. Then you get Omar Cooper at the 130, a guy we both really like a lot. You pair that with Garrett Wilson, Adonai Mitchell, and then Amari Cooper, Brees Hall, Mason Taylor, and Kenyon Sadiq for the 12 personnel. That is pretty spicy for whatever QB takes over after the 2027 draft. And honestly, if the line holds up the way it looks like it could on paper, Gino could put up some production this year. I don't know that they'll win a lot of games necessarily, but I do think he could get these guys to be fantasy relevant. I mean, Garrett Wilson last year still led the team, only playing 7 games, and he still led the team in targets with 59. You're relying on, in the year of our Lord
Ouch.
2025, you're relying on Alan Lazard, John Mechie, and Isaiah Williams to run your offense. That is just never going to work. Now all of a sudden it's Garrett Wilson, Adonai Mitchell, and Omar Cooper, and then Kenyon Sadiq. Like that is at least some juice and some spice. Again, it's draft season. Who knows if any of these teams are going to actually end up being better than they were the year before? But that's at least some spice to give this team something to look forward to, and for a QB coming out of the 2027 draft class to say, you know what, I can actually work with this. So I think from that standpoint, they did kind of the opposite of like say what the Raiders did, where the Raiders drafted the quarterback because they were in position to, and now they're going to build the team around it. The Jets are doing the thing, and the Browns as well are doing the thing where they're building the team for a quarterback. And now let's see what they do in 2027. But I think you could see at least some electricity out of the Jets offense this year.
Absolutely. And I think the lack of a third receiving option really gives some heat to that Sadiq.
Mm.
I know that it's weird. Like, personally, I get a little weird when the Jets draft a player because it's been a little disappointing. I mean, Garrett Wilson, obviously, rookie of the year, his rookie year, but like we've all kind of been in Garrett Wilson purgatory,
Yeah.
injury and whatnot. But you get scared by that color on a football player. But now that it is Wilson, it is Cooper, and then yeah, Mitchell or yeah, other names not even worth saying out loud. So yeah, Adonai Mitchell as the
Charles
number three.
Irvin,
Charles Irvin, yeah,
Arian
Arian
Smith.
Smith. I was a Smith fan. It's the Alabama wideout, I believe. So,
Was it? I thought it was Georgia.
Georgia. Yep, that's right. You got it. So yeah, just looking at that, I don't think there's a ton
Quentin
to
Skinner. Sorry.
what the fuck? Who are these? I literally never heard of some of these people. But yeah, Mac Dalina. Yep. All righty.
Sure. Yeah.
DT Sheffield. I don't know. I'm over it. I've moved on. But yeah, Sadiq for sure. He's staring at like a minimum 80 targets, right? Coming out as a
Yeah.
rookie.
You would think.
So if they can find the red zone, find him some end zone, I think yeah, you're looking at a really, really nice transition in the NFL for Sadiq and Cooper compared to some of these other guys, like even Tate. I worry about a little more than these guys who are in just a really thirsty offense.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, there you have it. There is some of our thoughts on the 2026 draft class. Not giving away, trying not to give anything away for our upcoming drafts. Hopefully, you are drafting this weekend and you are excited, as excited as we are. Uh, we'll talk some more rankings and stuff for the rookies coming into next week. But until then, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, don't draft our guys, okay? Don't do it.
beneath the